Thank you, Madam President. The Committee on Judiciary, to which was referred Senate Bill 459, an act relative to biological sex in student athletics and prisons. Having considered the same, the committee recommends that the bill is ought to pass with an amendment by a vote of 3 to 1. Senator Gannon for the committee.
Senator Gannon.
Thank you, Madam President. I move Senate Bill 459 ought to pass with amendment. 459, as introduced, requires school athletics and the associated use of locker rooms be designated based on a participant's biological sex as assigned at birth. This bill, as amended, reflects prior language considered by the committee and adds the phrase compelling state interest to the statement of purpose and places the relevant provisions into the definitions section of the statute to ensure consistency in the application. I respectfully ask that you join members of the Senate Judiciary Committee in voting 459 ought to pass with amendment. And if I could speak to this, thank you, Madam President.
Yes, Senator, you may speak.
Thank you, Madam President. I won't read you anything because we've been down this road for 6 or 7 years doing this bill. I have skin in the game, as you know. I have daughters who play sports both in high school and ones who are playing at the varsity level in college. What this mostly does, my favorite thing, besides being a proud parent on the sidelines, is the opportunity it gives my daughters. It gives them an opportunity to learn leadership skills. They all are much quieter when they go into it, but after doing 3 seasons, 4 years in a row, they've learned how to work with people better, talk with people better, and they're vital skills that are needed in the business, in the workplace, needed here. Also, I'm interested in the safety aspect. That's one of the reasons we want to separate the sexes. One of my daughters, the one who's going into senior year, has played trans athletes before. Much taller, much bigger, a third stronger. Now, I know it depends if they're on puberty blockers and other things, which now in New Hampshire we don't allow legally, but it just was, if you saw my daughter playing, and she played very hard, but it was a much superior physical person. She did great playing, but she shouldn't be put in that position. There's a lot of contact, people falling, people knock each other into posts, there's concussions, there's broken limbs, and it's just these things all happen. So we don't want that to happen. So this bill touches on 3 things. It's one, the sports field, and on that sports field, Senator Abbas has brought to our attention before, it's the last kid that he's concerned with. If my daughter was going to be 10th on a team and she was replaced by a trans boy or a boy, it's a natural boy, it just wouldn't be fair. It would keep her out from getting all those opportunities the college offers, the scouting. My guys are going to better colleges probably and getting looked at more because they have that on their resume, and places them in great opportunity to be noticed by coaches. The locker rooms, it's a simple thing. We've talked before, me and the good senator from 24, about the Timberlane locker rooms. It looks like a MASH unit. There's not much that isn't seen or left to the eye. Maybe we should improve that locker room, but we probably don't have that $1 million. And we don't want a sales or income tax. So it's probably going to stay the same way as it is. In the other area, so the other area I touched on is prisons. We have problems in the prisons. I think the matrons and the male heads of the prisons should be the ones making what the safety choices are best for their prisoners. And that's why we're doing the bill this way. And I hope everyone, I'll bring up one other thing, which I probably should leave it where it is, and I'll stop now. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator. The bill is now on second reading. The first order of business is the committee amendment. Is there any further discussion on the committee amendment? Senator Altschiller, do you wish to speak on the amendment or to the bill?
The bill.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay, so we're talking about the amendment. Senator Avard, would you like to speak to the amendment or to the bill?
Both, but I'll talk to you about the amendment.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam President. Colleagues, I rise up in opposition to this bill as amended, this amendment. Yesterday, I spoke in the House on SB459, and it had to do with very similar things that I support that this bill does. But what it does do, it does recognize that, according to my colleague from 23, he brought up Safety. Safety in sports. I agree with that. I agree with the part where it says the locker rooms need to be biological areas segregated. But also prisons. There's another issue, safety with prisons. I agree with that as well. But I think this is lopsided because there's another issue that 552 addresses, which I think takes even a higher priority. We have K through 12 come through this building. They visit our bathrooms. And I think they need to be as protected as the ladies who are in prison. We know, and we're acknowledging through this amendment, that there's a safety concern, but we're going to leave out the bathrooms where our kids go? Is that what we really want to do? I hate to bring this up, Madam President, but, there was an individual who was on the other side of this wall who is now in prison who transitioned and had access to those bathrooms at any particular time when those 4th and 5th grade girls were here. That individual was caught taking pictures of naked children. Now, in some senses, you can't tell because people can make modifications to the way they look and enter into a room. But there's one thing you definitely cannot tell, and that is whether somebody's suffering from a mental illness or if they have evil intent. This doesn't address the bathrooms. Why is that being left out? I cannot support something that protects our prisoners but doesn't protect the children that are in the schools. And I might add that the courts have vacated Title IX, 2024 rules, which means they revert back to the 2020 rules, which only addresses biology. It does not address gender identity, which means the state could be on the hook for a lot of money if we're in violation of that. And I think we really need to consider that. I'm going to vote against it because it's saying those children that visit the Capitol or in our schools or go in our businesses are okay. They don't need any extra safety, but the people that are in prisons, well, they need the safety. I can't support this. I think this is wrong, and it's a bad message. Thank you, Madam President, and I do not want to take any questions. I don't want to belabor this any longer. You know how I feel.
Okay. Thank you very much, Senator. The bill is now on second reading. The first order of business is the committee amendment. Is there any further discussion on the committee amendment? Okay. Seeing none, the question is on the adoption of the committee amendment. Are you ready for the question? All in favor say aye. All opposed say no. No. Okay. The noes have it. The amendment has failed. The bill is on second reading. Is there any further discussion or amendment? Okay. Okay.
Brief recess.
We have a 2-minute recess. The Senate will come out of recess. I recognize Senator Lang.
Consideration on the previous vote.
Okay. Senator Lang has moved reconsideration on the vote for the committee amendment. Senator Altschiller has requested a PI.
Thank you, Madam President. If I know that this is a horse that is dead, could we just leave this alone? Would I vote no on reconsideration? Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Okay. Again, we are now voting on reconsideration. Are you ready for the vote? Roll call. Okay, a roll call on reconsideration is recommended by Senator Altschiller, seconded by Senator Lang. This is on reconsideration.
459. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, the clerk will call the roll.
Senator Rochefort.
Yes.
Senator Lang?
Yes.
Senator McConkey?
Yes.
Senator Waters?
No.
Senator Prentice?
No.
Senator Gray?
Yes.
Senator Innes?
Yes.
Senator Ward?
Yes.
Senator Rishardi?
Yes.
Senator Fenton?
No.
Senator McGee?
Yes.
Senator Avard?
No.
Senator Rosenwald?
No.
Senator Reardon?
No.
Senator Murphy?
Yes.
Senator Pearl?
Yes.
Senator Sullivan?
Yes.
Senator Birdsell?
Yes.
Senator Long?
No.
Senator Perkins Coca?
No.
Senator Abbas?
Yes.
Senator Gannon?
Yes.
Senator Altschiller?
No.
And Senator Carson?
Yes.
59.
The motion for reconsideration passes by a vote of 15 to 9. So we're going to go back to the question on the adoption of the committee amendment. Are you ready for the question? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. No. The ayes have it, and the committee amendment is adopted. The bill is on second reading. Is there any further discussion or amendment? Senator Altschiller would like to speak.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise in opposition again to legislation targeting the transgender community. I want to say something directly before I get to the policy of this bill. Some have called this a culture war distraction. And yes, while this chamber fixates on the smallest minority in our state, we are not passing meaningful legislation on housing, on health care, on school funding, or the gun violence threatening students. That is a real fail. Yes.
Madam Chair, I believe the point of this discussion is about debate of the bill itself and not on what we're not doing.
Thank you. Senator, please restrain your comments
Certainly.
to the material that's within the bill. Thank you.
This is a real failure of governance, and I won't pretend otherwise. I am not comfortable dismissing what this bill does to real people as another distraction of a culture war. This is a civil rights bill. This is a public safety bill. That this body has the audacity to consider codifying discrimination in the chapter of law known as Law Against Discrimination, in my opinion, is obscene. 660 people signed in opposition to this bill, 16 in support. That's 41 to 1 in opposition. The committee heard that, moved forward anyway. Sound familiar? Let's be clear about what Senate Bill 459 actually does. It carves out an exemption in RSA 354A, our law against discrimination, to permit the classification of people by biological sex for discrimination. The bill uses the language of compelling state interest. And I ask my colleagues, what is the compelling state interest in singling out a handful of transgender children? Singling out the less than 1% of our state population. I'd also ask my colleagues to notice who is never mentioned in these debates. We've heard endlessly in committee and in this chamber about transgender girls and women. Never a peep about transgender boys and men. And that asymmetry is very telling. This fixation on the bodies and the genitals of transgender girls and women in this legislation is not about fairness. It's not about safety. It's about control. It's disturbing, and we should say so plainly. And let's be honest about the scope of this bill, because it goes way beyond school sports. This amendment reaches into all public accommodations, every gym, every facility, every space for athletics where people gather. What it will do in practice is empower self-appointed bathroom police, like what happened at the Liberty Hotel. Vigilantes who threaten already have threatened, who feel licensed to challenge, confront, and intimidate anyone who doesn't conform to their idea of how a man or a woman is supposed to look. That puts transgender people at risk. It puts gender nonconforming people at risk. Those who choose to present that way and those who simply are that way. This bill doesn't protect women. It endangers people. I'll also remind this chamber of something basic. Inclusion is not displacement. A transgender girl joining a team does not take anything away from her teammates. She is a part of the team. Treating her participation as a threat isn't protecting anyone. It's excluding someone. Again, inclusion is not displacement. Meanwhile, this body can't seem to locate a compelling state interest in funding our schools to the constitutional minimum or keeping assault weapons out of children's schools.
Senator, I'm going to ask you to cease because you are now speaking again outside the scope of the legislature. So again, please constrain your comments to the subject of the bill.
The selectivity is not lost on anyone. Practically speaking, we've been here before. A nearly identical bill, House Bill 148, was vetoed by Governor Ayotte just weeks ago. If she wouldn't sign it then, I suggest we save everyone the trouble. Vote no on the ought to pass motion. Let's do the governor a favor and kill this one ourselves. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator. I will call Senator Abbas to speak.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise in support of the committee's recommendation of ought to pass as amended. First of all, just for clarification purposes, this bill does not address bathrooms at all, so I'm going to skip right over that topic because it has nothing to do with the actual bill. There are biological differences between men and women, and in specific limited circumstances, it's proper to recognize those differences. We've already passed laws to protect women's sports in our schools, recognizing that it's both unfair and it does create some safety concerns, and it's not equal for men, biological men, to play on the women's sports team. We've also separated prisons for men and women. As amended, SB459 would not change those policies or force anyone to change their policies. It simply says that separating men and women in school sports or in prisons is not grounds for a complaint to the New Hampshire Commission on Human Rights. What I will say, that one thing that male athletes, biological male athletes and biological females have in common is that they both work really, really hard for the opportunity to play those sports. And it's not equal for a biological man to play on the women's team and take a biological woman's spot on that team. Now, it was just today. I think it's important to recognize that literally today, the International Olympic Committee banned biological males from playing on the women's team or competing in the women's event because of fairness, because of fair competition. There was times in this country where biological women did not have the same opportunities as biological men when it came to athletic competition. They didn't even have a team to play on. And we've created equality in the sports arena for that. And by allowing biological males to now play on the team, we're now taking away that equality that we worked very hard as a society to create. So please join me. Support the committee's recommendation of ought to pass as amended. Let's protect biological women and let's protect women's sports and support the ought to pass as amended. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Senator Murphy has a question of...
Senator from District 22, please. Thank you for taking the question, Senator. If someone is, let's say a girl is a goalie on a high school hockey team, and they're playing against biological men, boys on that team, and knowing that hockey can be a violent sport, do you believe that might pose any sort of safety concern?
Thank you for the question. I think it's a safety issue, particularly when it comes to the rougher contact sports. I also think it's a fairness opportunity that, you know, if you're having a biological man playing on the ice, that's not fair to the women, especially the women who tried out to be that goalie and was left off the team.
Thank you.
The question is on the adoption of ought to pass as amended on Senate Bill 459. Senator Rosenwald would like to speak. I'm sorry, hold on. I recognize Senator Rosenwald to speak.
Thank you, Madam President. I think if we are really interested in fairness to women in sports, we should be advocating for those athletes to be paid the same as men in their sports, and they're not. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. I believe there was a call for a roll call by Senator Gannon, seconded by Senator Sullivan. Do I got that correct? Or was it Senator Abbas? Okay, Senator Gannon has requested a roll call. Senator Sullivan has seconded. Okay. Okay, yep, no, not a problem. Okay, are you ready for the question? The clerk will call the roll.
Senator Rochefort.
Yes.
Senator Lang.
Yes.
Senator McConkey.
Yes.
Senator Waters.
No.
Senator Prentice.
No.
Senator Gray.
Yes.
Senator Innes.
Yes.
Senator Ward.
Yes.
Senator Rishardi.
Yes.
Senator Fenton.
No.
Senator McHugh.
Yes.
Senator Avar.
No.
Senator Rosenwald.
No.
Senator Reardon.
No.
Senator Murphy.
Yes.
Senator Pearl.
Yes.
Senator Sullivan.
Yes.
Senator Birdsell.
Yes.
Senator Long.
No.
Senator Perkins Quokka.
No.
Senator Abbas.
Yes.
Senator Gannon.
Yes.
Senator Altschiller.
No.
And Senator Carson.
Yes.
59.
Okay, the ayes have it by a vote of 15 to 9. The motion of ought to pass as amended is adopted, and the bill is ordered to third reading.